I used to be someone. That's not pride talking. It's just the truth. My name is William Carter. Colonel William Carter, if anyone still cared. 3 tours overseas. Bronze Star. A chest full of ribbons collecting dust in a box under my bed now. The flag they gave me when my wife died. Still folded on the shelf. I never unfolded it. What's the point? You can't wrap a flag around your grief. It doesn't keep you warm. I wake up most mornings at 4:47 a.m. Still on military time, I guess. Habit sticks longer than family does. My bones creak before I stand. My back stiff, my fingers slower now. The silence is loud. No one calls. Not my son, Michael. Not my daughter, Elise. I haven't heard my granddaughter's voice in over 2 years. I remember when she used to fall asleep on my chest watching Finding Nemo. Now I'm not even a contact in her phone. They left me here, in this care facility that smells like bleach and boiled vegetables. Called it a temporary solution. That was 19 months ago. I'm sorry, Dad, Michael said. We just can't manage everything with the kids and work and, well, you'll get the best care here. Best care. Right. There's a nurse here named Carla. Young, tired, efficient. She doesn't make eye contact when she changes the linens. They always look past you when they've already decided you're fading. They don't see me anymore. To them, I'm just the old man in 204. I was a father. A husband. A man who once led men through deserts and storms. I buried friends. Saved lives. Made hard calls. And now I need permission to go outside. I used to sit on a wooden bench near the east window. The sun hit just right in the morning, lit up the trees like fire. Last fall, Carla found me there and said, "Mr. Carter, that's not your assigned zone. We need you back in your wing." Assigned zone. I'm a damn veteran, not an inmate. But I didn't argue. You stop arguing when you realize no one's listening. You stop talking, too. The silence protects you. My wife, Mary Ann, used to tell me that silence is its own language. She said I was fluent in it even when we met. I still remember her laugh. That light, almost shy one. The kind of sound that made your shoulders drop and your heart beat slower. It's been 6 years since she died. Cancer took her fast. Brutal and unforgiving. She held my hand the night she passed. Told me not to be angry. Promise me you won't become hard, she whispered. You're more than your duty. You're more than what they made you. But what if that's all I was? I raised Michael to be strong. To lead. I never hit him, but I was never soft, either. Maybe I should have been. Elise, she was always gentler, closer to her mother. But even she doesn't right now. Not even a postcard. They sold our house after Mary Ann died. Said it was too big, too empty. They didn't even let me pack it up. I lost boxes of letters, journals, photos. Gone. Like they couldn't wait to erase me. Once, I asked the nurse if my son had called. She checked the chart. Not this week, Mr. Carter. Not this week. That's what they always say. Like they expect me to stop asking. I remember Michael's voice when he was 7, high and curious, always asking questions. He used to run to me when I came home, throw his arms around my neck and yell, "My hero." He doesn't call me that anymore. Now, I'm just a task to be scheduled. But I'm not bitter. Not yet. I still have my mind. I still remember who I was, and who they were. And that's what keeps me going. Not revenge. Not hate. Memory. Because memory is a weapon too. They think I'm disappearing. They think I've surrendered. But they don't know me. They've forgotten I was trained to wait. That silence is my battlefield. That patience can be the sharpest blade. Let them underestimate me. Let them think I'm weak. This is not my end. This is my beginning. There's a hallway on the west side of the facility most of the residents don't use. The tiles are uneven, the lights flicker, and the heating there stutters in the winter. But I like it. No nurses bothering you. No bingo nights or soft piano music played for people who've forgotten their own names. I walk that hallway every morning, slow and steady, my cane tapping in rhythm. It's the only place I still feel in command. My own patrol. My own pace. My war room now is silence. There's a mirror at the end of that corridor. A long, cheap thing, probably bought in bulk. But I look in it every day. I see the lines in my face. The steel in my jaw. The man I used to be is still there. Just quieter now. Wrapped in skin that's weathered, but not broken. They don't see me. That's their mistake. The nurses see a tired old man with tremors. A veteran with a folder full of diagnoses. Stage 1 Parkinson's, one said behind my back, like I was already gone. The other day I caught Carla telling a new hire, he's harmless, just lonely. Keeps to himself. Harmless. They don't know that I still read strategy books. That I still remember every mission, every maneuver. That my mind is a vault. Locked, yes. But intact. I play chess against myself. I write letters I never send. I observe. I remember. Michael and Elise haven't visited once since the placement. That's what they called it. Sounds cleaner than abandonment. Sounds like they're doing something noble. Michael owns some fancy marketing firm in Atlanta now. Elise moved to Oregon for the healing energy. They post their lives online, smiling with lattes and labradoodles while I rot in this forgotten corner of the country. I watch from the shared community iPad, they don't even block me. Elise posted a picture last week. Family is everything, she wrote, holding her husband's hand on a beach somewhere. Family is everything. She has no idea how those words cut. I sacrificed holidays, birthdays, and years of sleep for that family. Missed her ballet recital because I was halfway around the world retrieving a downed pilot. Michael's science fair. I was coordinating logistics in Kuwait. I believed I was doing it for them. For their freedom. For their safety. But when my back broke, when my hands began to shake, when I needed them, they disappeared. There's a woman here named Janet. 81. Sharp as a whip. Used to be a criminal defense attorney. She said to me last week, you know what they're most afraid of, Bill? What's that? I asked. Guilt. They don't visit because it reminds them of what they did. What they didn't do. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. But that night, I couldn't sleep. Because she was right. It's easier for them to forget me. To tuck me away in a linen-scented hallway with recycled air and smiles that don't reach the eyes. Easier to keep scrolling, to keep moving, to post pictures with people who haven't buried their spouses or killed a man in combat. They're cowards. Not in the obvious sense. But in the deep, spiritual way. Afraid to face the reflection of their own betrayal. So I let them live with it. I write them letters. One every week. Not to guilt them. Not to beg. I write about the war. About their mother. About things they forgot but shouldn't have. I never send them. I keep them in a shoebox under my bed. One day, they'll find it. After I'm gone. After the room is emptied and my name becomes a file to archive. And then, the silence will speak louder than I ever could. They'll read those pages and realize they never asked me the questions that mattered. Never looked me in the eyes long enough to see the man, not the mistake. Let them feel the shame. I've carried enough weight. It's theirs now. 3 weeks ago, they moved in a new resident, Richard Monroe. Late 60s. Used to run a chain of car dealerships down south. Walks like a man who lost everything in court, not war. Still wears a Rolex, though. Denial clings in different forms. He tried to talk to me at breakfast the first day. "You military?" he asked, gesturing at the old army windbreaker I wear sometimes. I just nodded. "What branch?" "Army." He whistled. "I was Navy ROTC. Dropped out when I figured selling cars was more profitable than crawling through mud." I didn't reply. He kept talking. That's how you know someone's not ready to listen, they talk to fill the space, not share it. I don't mind the silence. I've made peace with it. But that morning something strange happened. The facility had a volunteer day. Bunch of college kids came in, smiling with their 2 white teeth and trying not to look scared of our wrinkled hands and tired eyes. One of them, tall, maybe 20, was assigned to help me engage. His name was Jason. He sat across from me in the common room, fiddling with his phone, until I said, "You can leave if you want." He looked up, startled. "Sorry, sir. I'm supposed to stay for 40 minutes. I watched him. He had the look of someone not used to silence. Twitchy. Nervous. Afraid of stillness. "You ever lose anyone?" I asked. He blinked. "What? Anyone close?" He shifted in his seat. "Yeah. My grandfather last year. Lung cancer. He was a Marine." I nodded. "What was his name?" "Dennis. Dennis Keaton." I leaned back, arms crossed. "I served with a Keaton in Fallujah." His eyes lit up. "Wait, really?" "Yeah. Dennis had a photo of a little boy in his locker." "You." Jason swallowed hard. "He talked about you." "He did. He said you saved his life once. That you were the bravest man he ever met." I looked away. "I didn't save him, not really. I just followed orders." Jason was quiet a long time. "Can I come back?" he asked finally. "You're not obligated." "I know. But I want to." I didn't answer. But the next week, he came back. Sat with me. Asked questions. Listened. And I remembered what it felt like, to be seen. He wanted to know about the war, about Marianne, about my kids. I gave him only fragments. Enough to feed the hunger but not enough to bleed. That's the trick. Give the story, not the wound. The third time he came, he brought an old cassette recorder. "My grandpa had one of these," he said. "I thought, maybe you'd want to record some of your stories." I stared at it. I hadn't told my story in years. Not out loud. Not since the funeral. But something in me, something old and dusty, unfolded. I pressed the red button. And I began. October 1991. Iraq. Dust thick as concrete in the air. We had intel on a civilian convoy taken by insurgents. My voice cracked once. I kept going. Jason didn't move. That night, I didn't sleep. Not from pain. From presence. It woke something I thought was gone. Not pride. Not hope. But a thread. Thin. Delicate. Alive. A few days after our last session, Jason didn't show up. Not on Monday. Not Wednesday. By Friday, I figured he'd ghosted like the rest of them. Volunteers fade quickly. They come here thinking they're doing a good deed. Then they realize kindness is heavy. And we, the forgotten, are hard to look at. But I wasn't angry. I'd lived too long to expect consistency from people. Still, I waited. And waiting, I've learned, isn't passive. It's a quiet endurance. In the silence, I pulled out one of the letters I wrote but never mailed, one I addressed to Michael, dated over a year ago. Michael. You were 9 when I missed your school play. I told you something came up at work. You didn't know work meant pulling a soldier out of a minefield while bullets snapped overhead. You told me, it's okay, Dad. You always said that. Even when it wasn't. I taught you to be strong, but not how to be gentle. I didn't know how. No one taught me that part. I'm sorry for the times I was present in body but absent in heart. But I was never absent in love. I never stopped loving you. Not once. Even now. Dad. I never sent it. What would be the point? They've moved on. Built lives around the absence. Poured concrete over my memory. I'm not a father anymore, I'm a story they don't tell. But then, the next week, Jason came back. His face was pale. His voice cracked when he said, I'm sorry. My mom was in the hospital. It was sudden. I didn't mean to disappear. I just nodded. He sat down, quietly. No recorder this time. Just presence. After a long pause, he said, You know, my mom always said Grandpa never came back the same after the war. That something in him shut down. Because it had to, I said. To survive. He looked at me. Did it ever open again? That question sat in the room like a bomb that hadn't gone off yet. I don't know, I said finally. I think maybe just before the end. He didn't ask what I meant. I reached under my chair and handed him the letter to Michael. Don't read it, I said. Not now. But hold on to it. He took it carefully, like it was fragile. Why me? Because it doesn't matter who it's for anymore. It matters that it's remembered. He slipped the letter into his backpack like it was a relic. And then, quietly, he said, Would you want to come to campus one day? To speak? About your story? I laughed. A dry, cracked thing. You think anyone wants to hear this old man talk about things no one understands anymore? I do, he said. That night, I stared at the ceiling long after lights out. Maybe he's just being kind. But maybe, just maybe. I am not yet done. Maybe my voice, my story, isn't finished. Maybe there's still one more lesson to give. They didn't expect much from me when I arrived at the university. Jason picked me up that morning, helped me into his battered Toyota. The seatbelt caught on my shoulder. My knees ached. My hands trembled more than usual. But inside, I was steel. I hadn't stepped foot on a campus in over 40 years. The students moved fast, eyes glued to phones, coffee in hand. Most didn't look at me. Some did, then quickly turned away. Maybe I reminded them of their grandfather. Maybe I reminded them of time running out. Jason walked me to a small classroom. 40 seats. Half filled. Film majors, history students, a few with bored expressions like they were there for extra credit. At first, I didn't speak. Just stood behind the podium, feeling the dust in my lungs and the years on my shoulders. Then I said, Raise your hand if you've ever felt forgotten. 3 hands went up. I waited. 4 more joined. Eventually, nearly all of them. That's when I began. Not with war stories. Not with medals. I talked about absence. About missing your child's first steps because duty called. About loving your wife from a distance of oceans. About holding a friend's body as the sand soaked through your knees. About silence. And guilt. And how sometimes surviving feels like betrayal. They didn't look away. One girl started to cry. I told them about Marianne. About her laughter, and how her hand felt when it was cold for the last time. I told them how my children had once looked at me with wonder, then later, with shame. I was a good soldier, I said. But I failed as a father in ways I didn't understand until it was too late. No one moved. You think the worst thing is to be hated by your children? I asked. It's not. It's to be nothing to them. The silence was sacred. And then I said the one thing they needed to hear. But I'm still here. Stillness. And maybe that's enough. Afterward, they came to me, one by one. Some shook my hand. Some just nodded. A few thanked me with eyes full of something deeper than pity. Jason walked me back to the car in silence. He said, "You changed something in there." "No," I replied. "They changed something in me." He offered a half smile. "Will you come again?" I looked at the clouds rolling in over the trees. I thought of Marianne. Of the folded flag. Of the shoebox full of letters. "Yeah," I said. "Maybe next week." That night, back in my room, I sat by the window. The sun dipped behind the trees, setting them on fire with orange and gold. I took the recorder Jason had left me and pressed the red button. "This is for whoever finds it," I said. "This is not a story about war. This is a story about becoming human again." And I began to speak. I spoke not as a soldier, or a father, or a forgotten man. I spoke as William Carter. The last time Michael called, it was a mistake. A pocket dial. I heard muffled voices, some laughter, a baby crying in the background. Then the call dropped. No voicemail. No follow-up. Just silence. That was 6 months ago. I haven't heard from him since. But something's changed. Not in him, in me. The quiet no longer eats me alive. It has become a place I've learned to live in. Not comfortably. Not completely. But with understanding. The silence no longer means I am invisible. It means I am listening. I don't write letters anymore. I've said what needed saying. They're all still in the shoebox under my bed, sealed, dated, unsent. Some days I wonder if Elise will find them first, or Michael. If they'll sit together on the floor of this room one day, sifting through what's left of me, trying to stitch together the father they didn't know, or chose not to. Let them. That will be my revenge. Not bitterness. Not blame. Memory. I will haunt them not as a ghost, but as a man whose presence they buried too soon. Jason still visits every week. Sometimes twice. He doesn't bring a recorder anymore. Just himself. He helps me write a few things down, short pieces, thoughts. We're calling it a book now. Tentative title, The Last Lesson. I don't expect it to sell. That's not the point. Last Tuesday, Jason handed me a printed-out email. "Thought you should see this," he said. It was from a professor at the university. Said some of the students had been deeply impacted by my talk. That one of them had written a paper about the emotional inheritance of war. That another had gone to see her estranged father for the first time in years. They listened, I said, more to myself than him. He nodded. You mattered. I folded the email carefully. Slipped it under my pillow. Next to a photo of Marianne. She's smiling in it, eyes squinting at the sun. I tell her goodnight every evening. Like she's just in the next room. Like love doesn't dissolve with time. A few nights ago, I had a dream. I was walking through a city, no longer limping, no cane in hand. The streets were filled with people I didn't recognize, and yet, every single one looked at me like they knew me. Like they remembered. Like I mattered. I woke up with tears on my cheeks. And peace in my chest. This morning, Carla came in and said, "Mr. Carter, you've got a visitor." I assumed it was Jason. But it wasn't. It was Elise. She stood there in the doorway, holding her purse too tight. Her eyes red. She looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I had just gotten older. "Hi, Dad," she said. I didn't speak. She sat down. For a while, there was only the sound of the wall clock ticking behind us. "I found the letters," she whispered. "All of them." I nodded. "I didn't know," she said. I didn't let myself. Still, I said nothing. Finally, I asked, "Why now?" She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. Because I couldn't carry the silence anymore. I didn't forgive her. Not with words. That would have been too easy. But I reached out and placed my hand over hers. And she broke. And I didn't. Because this was my victory. I will not die with rage in my heart. I will die knowing I was seen. That the world may forget medals and ranks and speeches. But it will remember the man who waited. Who endured. Who did not scream, but simply stayed. Because sometimes the strongest revenge is living long enough to become undeniable.
Subscribe and like. And tell your friends about this video.